My name is Larry Neff. My wife, Julie, and I are regional directors of Independence Caucus. Joining us today are members of our steering committee, Ed Boda and Ann Fiset. We are here today to conduct an interview of Jackie Walorski, Republican candidate for the Indiana 2nd District U.S. House of Representatives. Ms. Walorski has previously taken the 80-question candidate qualification questionnaire, on which she scored a perfect 100%. Congratulations on your score, Jackie.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
This interview phase is designed to allow the candidate an opportunity to respond to more open-ended questions as opposed to the yes-no format of the questionnaire. We will begin the interview with 10 questions from our steering committee, and then we will conclude the interview with a few moments for you to speak to the Indiana voters. Julie?
Okay, I'm Julie Ness, and I have question number 1. Do you see erosion of national sovereignty as a problem? And if so, what are the causes, and how would you alert the public to that danger? What would you do to prevent it?
Well, yes, I do agree it's a problem, and I've already done a couple of things. One, I co-sponsored a resolution in our state house in Indiana this past session to alert people to the fact that the state of Indiana needs to be fighting for and insisting upon our state sovereignty, because what happens at the federal level, it hasn't just happened recently, but it's been happening. It's happened, all the way back when a lot of the entitlement programs were set up in this nation, where, they were federal entitlement programs, but they made the states comply with things like Medicaid. We've seen different kinds of funding that has been shifted because of the state coming in, especially in the area of transportation funding. X amount of your tax dollars, are going to pay for things that don't all come back to your state. They go to other places. They're allocated on a grid. They're not allocated fairly. And then, we've seen with this health care issue in Indiana as well that, 14 states from around the country have already passed resolutions that said that, we want to have our state sovereignty. We don't want the federal government coming in and mandating things like they do in place, even in areas like education, where the Constitution says it's the right of the states, it's the job of the states to provide education, because the feds still insist on coming in and having their say. So this has been a gradual erosion, but I think we've seen it speed up here just in the last 12 to 15 months with this administration. And what I would do is what I do in Indiana. I do the things that I just did in this past session, which is holding press conferences, floating resolutions, educating voters, educating people to what's happening with the erosion of their rights, so they do have an opportunity to stand up and make a difference. And so, if we don't do that at the federal level, we're going to be turning around here, in December of 2010 after this congressional election. If we don't take this Congress back and wonder where our rights have eroded to and where have they gone, I've been very visible and very vocal in my state, and I plan on doing it at the federal level as well. Good.
Okay, and then do you see that then as the national sovereignty also as being eroded, such as, earlier there was the worry of the Copenhagen Treaty and things of that nature?
Oh, absolutely. And even with the, not only with Copenhagen, but also with the power that the UN has, and coming in and making decisions that have to do with, the protection of our nation, international treaties and different types of peace treaties that are entered into, and things that happen at the, especially in the area of security, things that we get pulled into where it completely erodes away our independence and our national sovereignty. So it's, again, that's been gradual as well, but I think it's been sped up in the last 15 months. It's just the blurring of the lines from national sovereignty to state sovereignty, and, not having people who are elected to represent us at the federal level being mouthpieces to those people that elected them, instead of being pawns at the table and allowing the national sovereignty to be taken away. I think the value of what happened to Copenhagen is that the American people began to hear that there were things happening that they weren't pleased with, and they began to stand up through organizations like yours and through some of the Tea Parties and some of the independent movements to be able to say that, they don't want anybody entering into any agreements for us and giving any of our rights away at the international level, other than the people who were elected to be there and to make those decisions.
Good. Thank you.
This is Ann Fiset with question number 2. What exactly do you plan to do to rescind the Obama health care bill should it be passed in its present form?
Well, again, I'm very vocal and visible at the level I'm at now, and I plan to continue to do that. There's different kinds of levels of activism that I've seen with elected officials, and the difficulty in rescinding or repealing this health care bill, should it pass this week, is that, I think it will. I think we'll have a good chance of getting Congress back and sending Nancy Pelosi back home to San Francisco where she belongs. I think that's a good thing. But the difficulty will be that, President Obama obviously is going to be in office until 2012, and he has the executive power over these laws that are passed. I'm not sure if a complete rescind can happen until Obama's removed and that administration is removed and a new administration is in power. But there's things that can be done as far as alerting voters and alerting people to the fact that these taxes are going to start immediately. They're going to be paying an increase in taxes for a good 2, 3, 4 years before they ever see one possible benefit of what these guys are passing. But I think the other thing that can be done is what I do at the level here at the state. I've been a big proponent of grassroots politics, whether it comes by way of, stopping a measure with petitions, doing petition drives, leading marches, walking in the streets, showing up in a state house, holding press conferences. And I think one of the things that has to happen if this thing passes and we try to get it repealed, and we do have a Congress back, is using the bully pulpit of the office of Congress, which is what I would do, and I would be out there with the people like what you've seen in Indiana with Mike Pence. I'd be out there with people like Michele Bachmann leading the charge and, hopefully orchestrating millions of people to show up in Capitol Hill to send the message that we want this thing repealed. I'm not the person that ever hides behind a vote. I'm the person that is not afraid to stand up and lead and take an issue and make it happen. And I've been planning on doing the same thing with the health care bill.
Thank you.
Great. This is Ed Boda with question 3.
Mm-hmm.
Can we get out of the grasp of radical environmentalists who are out to dictate what we may or may not do in our homes and our businesses?
You're asking, can we get out of the grasp?
Yes. What can we do to get out of that grasp?
Well, again, have to educate voters and educate the population what it means. What I've done in Indiana on the issue of cap and trade, for example, is I've been able to point out not from an emotional standpoint, but purely from a financial, fiscal, data-driven, hardcore facts of what it would mean in the state of Indiana for something as radical as a cap and trade policy that these guys put forth in the last couple of months. What it would mean to a coal state like the state of Indiana, and what it means by all the jobs that we've attracted to this state, because we've been able to offer a competitive environment for economic impact and economic development by having a low tax rate and an extremely low utility rate, because we have nuclear power that we pull from in Indiana, sitting on the Indiana-Michigan border. We have coal gasification plants that are burning clean coal, the cleanest coal technology that we have to offer right now in this country. And, the way we've been able to change minds in Indiana is getting facts to people of what's going to cost them. What's going to cost them when they have to take money out of their savings account, their college, accounts for the children and pay it to utility companies because we have some, huge mandate on them where their utility costs could triple. And I think one of the things we've been able to do by that is we've been able to talk to a lot of independent voters by creating the scenario, laying it out there, what this actually costs them that's coming out of their pocket, and being able to show them the facts on, what it's like to live in a coal state, what it's like to have your natural resources, constantly being beat on and made out to be the bad guys, but actually showing them that, this is clean technology. It's the cleanest technology that we have to offer right now in the country. So I think just doing what we're doing at the state level right now and changing minds is what has to happen at the federal level, and not being afraid to go out there and talk about the facts. The facts are on our side on this issue. And the radical environmentalists are a small minority population. And I think, with the majority of Americans making the decisions they're going to make in November, I think, number one, that sends a strong signal. Number two, we have to have our facts and our ducks in a row when we're talking about this stuff and be able to point out to people the damage of what we're talking about and what it costs. And I think that makes a huge difference.
Great.